20 p.m. that the Senate passed with an amendment, H.R. 1. Signed sincerely, Kevin F. McCumber, Clerk.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from North Carolina seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By direction of the Committee on Rules, I call up House Resolution 566 and ask for its immediate consideration.
Clerk will report the resolution.
House Calendar Number 35, House Resolution 566. Resolved that upon adoption of this resolution, it shall be in order to take from the Speaker's table the bill H.R. 1 to provide for reconciliation pursuant to Title II of House Concurrent Resolution 14 with the Senate amendment thereto, and to consider in the House without intervention of any point of order a motion offered by the Chair of the Committee on the Budget or his designee that the House concur in the Senate amendment. The Senate amendment and the motion shall be considered as read. The motion shall be debatable for 1 hour, equally divided and controlled by the Chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Budget or their respective designees, and the Chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Ways and Means or their respective designees.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Massachusetts seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Section 426 of the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, I make a point of order against consideration of the rule, House Resolution 566. Section 426 of the Budget Act specifically states that the Rules Committee may not waive the point of order prescribed by Section 425 of that same Act. House Resolution 566 states that it is in order to consider a motion that the House concur in the Senate amendment to H.R. 1, quote, without intervention of any point of order, end quote. Therefore, I make a point of order pursuant to Section 426 that this rule may not be considered.
The gentleman from Massachusetts makes a point of order that the resolution violates Section 426A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974. The gentleman has met the threshold burden under the rule, and the gentleman from Massachusetts and a member opposed each will control 10 minutes of debate on the question of consideration. Following debate, the chair will put the question of consideration as the statutory means of disposing of the point of order. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let me say this once again. We will not stand by and watch Trump and his billionaire friends destroy this country without putting up one hell of a fight. And because this rule waives the point of order against unfunded mandates, it is not in order to consider it on the floor. The bill Republicans are attempting to jam through the House today cuts nutritional assistance for moms and dads, kids, people with disabilities, veterans, and senior citizens. It goes after the most important people in our lives, our families, to fund massive tax breaks for the richest people in the world. I think that that's wrong, and I think it's immoral. But more than just a massive betrayal of the American people, this bill is also a massive new unfunded mandate on states. Don't just take my word for it. The nonpartisan experts at the Congressional Budget Office said Title I of the bill, the Agriculture Committee's portion of this awful bill, would impose intergovernmental mandates by requiring states, for the first time ever, to provide state funding for food assistance benefits, increasing the share of food assistance administrative costs paid by states, and requiring state agencies to perform additional administrative duties. This massive new unfunded mandate would cost states a whopping $19 billion each year. Mr. Speaker, where the hell are states going to come up with this kind of money? They can't. And so what will happen is people will get kicked off of food assistance, and they will go hungry. State after state has written to Congress begging us not to pass this awful bill. They have made it very clear that if this bill goes through, states will be forced to cut benefits, kick eligible people off of food assistance entirely, or raise taxes to pay for this massive new bureaucracy that Republicans are creating in every state in this country. The chairman of the Agriculture Committee's home state of Pennsylvania would have to come up with over $1 billion to cover the state's share of benefit costs. There is no state in this country who is able to take on this kind of massive unfunded mandate. And we're talking about basic needs for people, a food assistance benefit of $2 per meal so people don't go hungry. And by the way, that money not only lifts people out of poverty, it improves health, and it uplifts local economies too. Hunger costs this country, and food assistance programs save us money. People who have enough food to eat are more productive at work. Kids who are not hungry are able to learn better in school. And seniors who take their medication on a full stomach are less likely to go to emergency rooms. No American should go without food. This is a human rights issue. We live in the richest country on earth, for God's sake, and not a single kid in this country should go to bed hungry. Not a single damn one. And especially not when Republicans are giving millionaires and billionaires a big fat tax break. So I say to my Republican colleagues, what's wrong with you people? In this bill, you provide a $2 billion tax break for gun silencers, but you cut SNAP benefits for vulnerable families, which, by the way, is on average $2 per person per meal. Jesus Christ, what are you people thinking? I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves his time for what purposes? Gentlewoman from North Carolina seek recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to claim time in favor of consideration of the resolution.
Gentlelady is recognized for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question before the House is, should the House now consider House Resolution 566? Though the resolution waives all points of order against consideration of the motion to concur in the Senate amendment to H.R. 1, the Committee on Rules is not aware of any violation of the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act, nor has the Congressional Budget Office identified any violation of the Act. The reason for this motion is plain and obvious. It is not a legitimate attempt to question consideration, but simply a dilatory tactic to further delay consideration of this historic legislation and to give the Democrats more time to mislead Americans. We must dispense with this question of consideration so we can move the process forward and enact the agenda President Trump and the American people have demanded. I reserve my time.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to say we have a letter from the Congressional Budget Office confirming that there are unfunded mandates in this bill. And at this time, I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from Ohio, Ms. Brown.
Gentlewoman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ranking Member McGovern, for yielding. I rise in strong opposition to this rule and the underlying bill. For the first time in history, this bill would force states to pay for part of SNAP benefits, and it would require states to increase their share of administrative costs. This is an unfunded mandate, plain and simple. And let's be clear, the costs are staggering, the consequences devastating, and the cruelty deeply disturbing. This policy punishes those who can least afford it. Seniors on fixed income, veterans, and families already forced to choose between gas and groceries. States will be stuck in a corner. Cut benefits, cut eligibility, or cut public safety, education, housing, and mental health programs just to stay afloat. This isn't just a budgeting decision, it's a values decision. And for what? To take from the hungry and give it to the wealthy. To slash SNAP benefits just $6 per day and hand a $250,000 tax break to the top 0.1%. 0.1%. That's not policy, that's plunder. The math doesn't lie. In North Carolina, it's $400 million, more than the entire state budget for child development and early education. In Georgia, it's $500 million, double what the state spends on child welfare. And in my state of Ohio, it's $300 million, 4 times the transportation budget. My colleagues are writing checks that the government can't cash. And when the money runs out, the food runs out. Children go hungry, seniors skip meals, veterans, working moms and dads will be turned down and turned away, all because of a vote taken here today. This mandate isn't just unfunded, it's unfathomable. So I urge my colleagues, reject this provision, reject this rule, reject this betrayal. Don't reward the rich on the backs of hungry Americans. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman from North Carolina.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Connecticut, a member of the Agriculture Committee, Ms. Hayes.
Gentlewoman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise today against the Republican reconciliation bill, which would put 42 million Americans at risk of losing their SNAP benefits. These policies are untested, they are dangerous, and they are arbitrary. Congress did not engage in a thoughtful process to make these changes to SNAP. The majority has not held a single hearing on the Nutrition Subcommittee on the cost-sharing provisions or the impact of this legislation. They have not solicited feedback from stakeholders or experts on what these changes would mean to states and hungry families who rely on SNAP. The Republicans did not examine these policies closely because they knew it would take food away from hungry families, and they didn't care. They have chosen to provide tax cuts for the wealthiest individuals. They know these changes will devastate state budgets. In my home state of Connecticut, we could have to pay up to an additional $221 million per year for SNAP benefits and an additional $39 million for administrative costs. Connecticut, like most states, will have to come up with these funds or deny basic services that they need for other things like education, public safety, health care, and just providing for our roads and bridges in our states. Notably, not every state will be subject to this change. Late into the night, the Republican majority jumped through hoops to exempt non-contiguous states from these policies to pass cruel legislation. That is why we're up here, writing legislation on the fly to protect some Americans while going after others. No one should go hungry, whether they live in Connecticut, Alaska, Hawaii, or anywhere. It should not matter where you live or what kind of deal your senator made. Everybody deserves to eat. I urge my colleagues to reject this irresponsible legislation, and I yield back.
Gentlewoman from North Carolina.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentlewoman reserved. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, may I inquire how much time I have left?
There's 2¼ minutes remaining.
2¼ minutes?
Yes.
I yield myself to balance of the time. Mr. Speaker, I don't think any of my Republican colleagues have read this provision in the reconciliation bill. In fact, the Agriculture Committee never even did a hearing on it. And yet, billions and billions of dollars in new costs are going to be thrust upon states. And states are going to have to decide whether to cut other programs in order to make sure that no one loses their nutrition benefits, or they're going to have to cut people off of their nutrition benefits. The SNAP benefit on average is about $2 per person per meal. That's it. You can't buy a damn cup of coffee in the Capitol with that. And my Republican friends are obsessed with trying to throw people off of this benefit. I have no idea why. Most of the people on the benefit are children, are senior citizens. They include veterans. Many of them are working full-time and can't afford to put food on the table, and this benefit helps them provide for their families. And my Republican friends, have basically gone and attack on this most basic, effective program that is about food. You can live without a lot of things, but you can't live without food. So, Mr. Speaker, for those Republicans who think that it's okay to give Jeff Bezos a tax cut and at the same time cut food benefits for struggling families, let me say clearly, we don't share the same values. We don't share the same values. Unloading billions of dollars in new costs on states, money they do not have, will force them to cut benefits and throw needy people off of SNAP. It is a rotten thing to do. And I believe there's a special place in hell for people who take food away from veterans, from seniors, from children, from former foster youth, and from hungry families. This is sick. This is disgusting. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. Gentlewoman from North Carolina.
Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time and urge all members to vote yes on the question of consideration of the resolution.
Gentlewoman yields back the balance of her time. All time for debate has expired. The question is, will the House now consider the resolution? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having arisen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote.